Well, it's that time of year again. This lovely little bush here behind me with the nice white and pink flowers. This is the fruiting hibiscus, Roselle. It's also known in Mexico as Jamaica. That's spelled Jamaica. It has a few different names. It's those of you who drink Celestial Seasonings tea will recognize the hibiscus from Red Zinger tea. This is that hibiscus flower that we drink. Well, it's time to harvest here in Hawaii, and a subtle warning to those of you who are growing this plant here this year, or maybe bought plants from my nursery to grow it. The dry weather we've had, which I think I went 8 days without a single drop of rain here, is causing powdery mildew. The plant is susceptible to this. It ordinarily isn't a real big problem around here because we usually rain all the time and mildew doesn't form when it's raining. But this year, the mildew is starting to grow. And it will start on the leaves, which isn't really going to matter too much for the Roselle, but it will begin to spread to the pods. And so it's going to ruin your crop if you don't get out there and start harvesting diligently at this moment right now. The best way to tell whether your crop is ripe is whether it snaps or not. So if you reach up, you grab a bud like this and go crack, and it comes off in your fingers, it's ripe. There, another one like that. Okay. So that's how you tell when your Roselle's ripe, and hopefully, like these right here, there's no mold on them. They smell good, and so everything's just right. Now, you don't want the fruit capsule on the inside of the calyx. It's just the calyx that we use, okay? So I usually use a pruning shear like that, knock the seed capsule out, and then drop the calyx into my basket. Just like that. Now you can do this on a much larger scale, faster, this way, where I'll just take the branches, stick them under my arm like that, and go through and just start chopping through the calyx with a pair of pruning shears. I personally have found this to be about the fastest way that you can get a Roselle harvest. Well, there you go, folks. I got myself a small basket full of Roselle. I picked a great big one yesterday and dried it. This is what your raw product looks like. Right there, fits on the end of the finger. Now, as I said, you're not using the seeds, you're not using the fruit capsule or the stem. You're cutting right through that, and you're just taking off this part called the calyx. It's not the flower either. The flower was in the center before and is gone. So even though people call this hibiscus flower tea, it's not really the flower. It's part of the fruit, the calyx part. Anywho, you want to make sure, because I'm forewarning you all, that's why I'm here making this video. There's a mildew problem this year. It's not common here, but it is happening now because it is dry. Now, when you pick, you can tell by looking at the capsules, there'll be white dust, sort of like white color, frosting sort of on them. You'll know right off because the leaves will have it probably. If you've got mildew, you'll smell it by beating the leaves. It'll smell like a mushroom. And you're okay as long as it hasn't proceeded to these calyx. If it's starting to coat the calyx, they're not going to be suitable for food anymore. Okay? And if they haven't and they're not ripe yet, you might even consider using a mild fungicide like neem or something on them. Deodorized neem maybe, or some such thing. Baking soda and water actually will work on mildew too, which is probably better. It'll dissolve. Anywho, watch out for the mildew. You don't want to get that on your crop. If you have it on the lower pods, mostly it's going to be on the older, riper fruit that's in your Roselle. It's okay there because Roselle's an annual and you want to leave it to ripen a crop of seeds. It's going to be like planting tomatoes. If you've never done this before, you will do it every spring if you want Roselle. It is an annual hibiscus. And so those pods that have gotten mildew on them that you won't be able to use for tea, you can still use them for your seed crop. I've left most of them that look like they were infected to ripen out so I get seed. It won't hurt the seed. The next step, is we're going to have to dry this stuff. So I'm going to start putting it inside our dehydrator here. This is a real nice Excalibur, American made in California. And so I'll just spread it out nice over here so the air can move around it. Don't overload the trays. In our case, we can only put about half the capacity of trays in on this because the Roselle is too large, and so I can't use all of my trays. Well, dryer's loaded up. I've got 130 degrees set on the thermostat. I'm going to roll this up for about 8 hours, is approximately what it should take to dry it out. There we go, all started. Okay, so once the Roselle has been dried, we store it in canning jars. Plastic is not good. It actually weeps water in. Moisture comes in through plastic. It's kind of porous. Glass is not. And so you can keep your Roselle dry in a canning jar. I'm using a couple of silicon dioxide packages here. This is what your finished product looks like right there. Delicious stuff. Absolutely. I'm sure some of you have tried this in the past. You're going to be real happy with it. It's good for you. It lowers blood pressure. It helps flush purines from the blood if you have gout problems, and it's just real good. Roselle, it's actually possible to drink it without the sugar. We do here. We like it that way. Kind of tart, but it's good. Also, again, as I mentioned, it is an annual. And so you're going to want to replant it again next year. So you need to save your seeds. Aloha. Get that Roselle in out of the field and all hang loose there.